This video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Easter for those of you on the East Coast. Happy Passover for everybody. Yeah, it's kind of late. So, anyways, I thought I'd do sort of this quick recap here. Yeah. So as we saw earlier on the earlier show, the gun range case, they made an arrest in that one. Is it this guy? Hold on. Yeah, this individual, where the hell is he? Right there. Oh, you can't see it yet, but right there. Jacob Christian Muse. He was the one that shot up the grandparents and the grandson at the shooting range, and the father found them, and he was the county coroner as well. Kind of creepy. And thanks LM and Swerves for super chat and a PayPal. So there was that, and then we're discussing the case of Virginia Marie Olson, and we made it all the way through, but there was two final articles that I didn't make it through, so I'll just start with those. That way you'll get a recap of that one. Oh, that's actually the other girl. Hold on. Let me move her into that folder. And this is in Asheville, North Carolina. So Virginia Olson, the haunting cold case murder of UNCA. Hey, thank you, Eugenie. All right. So here's the article. This is from 2021. We went through all the newspaper articles already. So let's see what this says here. And remember, she was a student that was found murdered above the school botanical garden. I think they said her hands were tied behind her back and her feet, and she was sexually assaulted. And let's see. In her Craig dormitory student dwelling, a young UNC Asheville student, Virginia Ginger Olson, woke up on a chilly morning in 1973. April 15th. Started quite cold. Temperatures that night dropped well below freezing. This is by Austin Campbell of the bluebanner.net. April 15th. Started quite cold. Temperatures that night dropped well below freezing. The morning sun rose, and as any young college student does, the 19-year-old chose her outfit for the day. She donned a green t-shirt, denim jeans, a checkered flannel, and tennis shoes. An unremarkable morning, wrought with mundane tasks, marked some of Olson's last hours alive. After resting in her dormitory in the morning around 1 p.m., Olson gathered some books, just after lunch. She gathered some books shared between her and her roommate, Jane Nicholson. Books are expensive, so maybe they were in the same classes and just shared the books. Her departure was a farewell between the two that neither knew was a permanent goodbye. The UNCA drama major was known to spend time alone on the weekends in the Asheville-Biltmore Botanical Garden. The young woman meandered down a path near the dorms, headed to the entrance of the gardens. Let's see. So, those look like dorms right there, if I was going to guess. And probably right there, meandered down to the botanical gardens right there. Makes sense. On the way there, she spoke with a small group of her friends, according to them. Olson was a kind and well-liked person with a warm, gentle smile. See, none of this stuff we have. I bet it might be in some of the newspapers. There's different newspapers out there. I might have been in a completely different one. The Sunday afternoon was bright and sunny, contrasting the cold spring morning of the same day. The gardens were said to have been quite crowded, attracting all sorts of characters that day. This didn't deter Olson. The college sophomore was off to study and be alone in a densely wooded portion of the nearby garden. She chose a place away from others, an area warm and cozy, nestled in the dense North Carolina undergrowth and hidden under a rich canopy. She glimpsed at the shimmering rays of warmth. This is all just fluff right here. Afternoon sun, and then trickled through the leaves. But while Olson basked in the radiant warmth, a lurking predator cowardly slinked through the foliage, observing the young woman peacefully studying. Over the safe, pleasant songs of the spring birds, she must have missed the distinct sound of her killer's pocket knife clicking into place. At 3:30 p.m., two teenage boys, Thomas Guthrie, age 14, and Larry O'Kelly, age 17, found Olson. The boys stumbled onto the gruesome scene of Olson, barbarically butchered and bound with fabric, with a bloody wound to the jugular and heart. The jugular vein, though, wasn't bleeding the way it would have. She was already, her heart had already stopped beating before the neck wound was given. Her green t-shirt was torn and used to gag and restrain her, leaving her. So that's what's interesting, is how did that happen? Must have been. It almost feels like sometimes there's like two people, The story with the car actually made sense on the previous show. The car that showed up with two guys in it. Because how do you bind and gag somebody, unless you have like a gun on them, I guess, without noise in a botanical garden, near a botanical garden with all the people around? Let's see. So her green t-shirt was torn and used to gag and restrain her, leaving her with only her denim jeans and a blue bra, both splattered with spurts of drying bright red blood. Laying on her back, her still lifeless face stared off into the endless sky. Her wire-rimmed glasses sat on her notebook, and her checkered flannel rested nearby, undamaged, unharmed, the way she had gently left them. Autopsies later revealed that Olson was raped. The chaotic violence of the killer's actions tainted the picturesque woodland scene. These dark, chilling acts stained the warm spring air, and an abomination against natural beauty committed under the light of day. Let's see. The tragic news was relayed to her parents through the phone call made to her grandparents' residence. In an instant, most of her immediate family knew of what happened. Olson had just seen her parents 2 days prior on April 13th. Not expecting those to be the last moments shared together, her parents, siblings, grandparents, and friends were left haunted with her absence. Most students would eat on campus during the weekends, so nobody noticed Olson's absence until the announcement of her murder was made to the students that same night. Now, the environment of UNCA shifted from the 1970 culture of love and peace to one of fear and mistrust. The Charlotte News published an article on April 17, 1973, stating an Asheville Police Department detective submitted items referred to as some material to the NC State Lab for testing. At the time of this case, APD worked with the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation. We're not going to stop working it until it's solved. I've got stuff at a lab now to be analyzed. Let me go down to here. Many former and current UNCA students have been to the exact location where the most sinister crime in the school's history occurred without even knowing it. When staring at the ornately placed stone bricks, manicured gardens with ornamental trees, and opulent living conditions that comprise UNCA's Chancellor's residence, the Pisgah House underneath your feet rests the long, dried blood of Virginia Olson. So where's that? Pisgah House. That's still there? No. Anyways, the case remains under active investigation as of September 27th, and detectives say they hope for new information on the case. As time withers by, the materials will deteriorate. This is her right here. You know, she was an art person. It looks like, attractive. Sadly, the passing time is destined Olson to share a similar fate. Students don't know the life and death of Olson as a tragedy anymore. Instead, she became a relic from a decade smothered under the burdensome sands of time. She was an artist, a poet, a creator, but now she remains as a sad whisper, hushedly and sparingly passed to oncoming students. Yeah, I mean, so it's just a case that never got solved. But it sounds like if she was assaulted, they got lucky and they kept some of her clothing items, or did any kind of collecting of samples. I guess there's a chance at genetic genealogy at this point, right? And so that's how that one ends right there. Hey, Kit Kat. Thank you. Anyways, I guess some Amber Alert came on. Not sure what, how that works into the show like this, but somebody named Nayla Norwood, female, mixed race, 20 pounds, black curly hair, abducted by Gregory Norwood.
Happy to see everyone. Rabbit.
Not sure what the other part is. Kind of confusing. But look for a Chevy Malibu with Georgia CRU 7421. Thank you. All right, now there was a second one. There was another case mentioned in this case where they said there was another similar one from 1965, and that was Suellen Evans, and now we're going to go do that one. This one might be a little bit more, like it's got more photographs and whatnot. But another arboretum, which is kind of strange, right? This is at Chapel Hill, so let me get on. I make her folder. I'd made one on the last show, but something happened and they all got deleted. There we go. Only 82 people. Oh, man. I guess it's the Easter weekend. It's also really late. Let's see. An attractive 21-year-old University of North Carolina co-ed was stabbed to death Friday shortly after noon in an arboretum on the campus of Chapel Hill. The victim was identified as Miss Suellen Evans, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Glenn Evans of Mooresville, and a junior in the university summer school. She died minutes after several co-eds and 2 nuns heard screams, found her sprawled on the ground, and glimpsed a man fleeing from the scene. No weapon was found. She had been stabbed twice, once in the neck and again in the heart, which is absolutely identical to the previous case, but chronologically after this one. I mean, isn't that incredible? An arboretum, slash in the neck, and in the heart. I mean, it's exactly the same. Really weird. One of the 2 nuns administered artificial respiration until the co-ed was removed to North Carolina Memorial Hospital, same state and everything. She was pronounced dead on arrival. Time of death was set at 12:30 p.m. The stabbing occurred in the Natural Botanical Garden. So let's see where that is. This is in Durham, North Carolina. So here, okay, there's an arboretum. Is there another one? Let's just put this one here. Okay, yeah, so this is interesting. So maybe we'll get lucky. I don't know if there's another. So they called this the small path near the center. Okay. The stabbing occurred in the Natural Botanical Garden. See, there's a herbarium, North Carolina Botanical Garden. I don't know. There's another one. So Natural Botanical Garden, a short distance from the home of Consolidated University President William C. Friday. Miss Evans was found on a small path near the center of the garden. She never spoke to the co-eds, who rushed her to aid, but was identified by her books and personal belongings spread about in a patch of periwinkle nearby. Thanks, Zozo! Yep, and if you guys would like to help out, I know we're kind of short on people, and you know, it's also before Easter, but just trying to keep the momentum going here. Thank you very much. With the super chats, channel memberships, at all. We take over 50% of the net income from YouTube and donate it to charities throughout the month and at the end of each month. Okay, so Miss Evans was found on a small path. Oh, and by the way, if you donate over $5, you get entered into a drawing for a mug, or sometimes even a tumbler, depending on how much.
My kids. Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter!
Heart.
Yeah. Miss Evans was found on a small path near the center of the garden. She never spoke to the co-eds. Police Chief W.D. Blake said Dr. Hubert Patterson, Orange County Medical Examiner, reported the co-ed had been criminally assaulted. However, he said everything indicated this was the motive. Right. I think it's weird when they ask what the motive is once there's a sexual assault. You know, it's like, well, you know, isn't that it? The murder weapon was described only as a sharp instrument, but Blake said he thought it was a knife. Well, there you go again. Tracks on the path a short distance from where Miss Evans was found looked as if they were heel marks where she had been dragged into the hanging trees. The periwinkle in which her books was lying was ripped and torn, indicating a heavy struggle, Blake said. The first co-ed to reach Miss Evans reported seeing a black arm of a man in a... Let's see, the first co-ed to reach Miss Evans reported seeing a black arm of a man in a blue shirt as he ran through the bushes. It could be shading, right? Miss Suellen Evans. I guess this is the next page. She later was quoted by Blake as saying the man was either black or a foreigner. A campus employee, also attracted to screams, said he observed a black man in a blue shirt. So they're using the derogatory term on the screen in the papers. So I'll try my best to, avoid. I'm not going to say it. So let's see. He said the man turned and ran towards the rear of the planetarium. Police declined to identify the co-eds, the nuns, and the campus employee who made statements after the slaying. Police summoned bloodhounds to the area, but Blake said, "Thank you, Rochelle Black." A chemist and 2 agents from the State Bureau of Investigation were sent to the scene to assist police in the investigation. Blake said several suspects had been picked up and questioned by late Friday afternoon, but that there had been no arrest. Hey, what happened, D&K Reck? I thought you guys were already channel members. All we have is a dim description of the man, said Blake. He was described as a black or foreigner wearing blue shirt. He added that he had no way of knowing if the man was young or old, but said one person said the blue shirt was of the sport shirt variety rather than a work shirt. Chapel Hill Police and SBI agents issued an appeal late Friday night asking that a group of children seen playing around the Arboretum during the time of the slaying report immediately to the investigators. Police Chief Blake stated that a witness reported hearing the screams for help from Miss Evans, but assumed they were coming from a group of children he had been bicycling on the path of the garden a few minutes before. Had seen on the path. The appeal came after a 3-hour closed session in the courtroom of Town Hall as police and other investigating officers weighed the evidence accumulated. The chief said the slaying had also prompted several reports of co-eds being followed. He said one woman reported to him Friday that on last Sunday she observed a co-ed running in the garden. Blake reported the woman said the co-ed told her she was being followed and that the co-ed was taken by the older woman to McIver Hall. Blake said he planned to have the woman look at pictures. Hey, thanks, Shelly Pink. Chewbacca.
Oh, I'll be Chewbacca. Easter if you want me to.
Do you feel? Let's see, where are we at? Her guidance teacher, Mrs. Felton Burris, described her as a quiet, conscientious, stable, serious-minded girl. And happy Easter, Shelley. She was graduated from the Mooresville High School in 1962, where she had maintained a high B average. She had been majoring in home economics in college, but was said to be thinking of switching to education courses in preparation for teaching. Miss Evans' father is a rural mail carrier, and she has a brother, Adrian Evans of Washington, D.C., who's a mechanic. Yeah. So in a minute here, we got a load of photographs. It's crazy. So here we go. So this is in the paths, and it kind of looked a hell of a lot like... Let me see if there's anything in here. Alright, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I don't know. I think this one over here, the first one that we were looking at, is really amazingly... some other photos that I've seen look just like it. So let's just go right down in here for now. Maybe not in that spot, but let's see. Oops.
Happy Easter, Gray and Freaks.
Hey, thanks, Tony Lee. You too. Alright, so let's just kind of keep it here and see what's going on. No, it is. See right there, Coker Arboretum. So we're in the right spot. I thought that looked more similar. So there we go. This is the Coker Arboretum where UNC co-ed was murdered. Boom. See, you guys, see how that works? When I first looked at it, I remember the photos. I thought, man, that looks so similar. So that's why I went down in there. After I went down in there, I thought that might be the right spot. And here it is. 3 officers search for clues on the secluded path in heavily wooded Coker Arboretum of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where Suellen Evans, 21-year-old co-ed, was stabbed to death Friday. And here's another image in there. Local and state officers are seen checking for clues at the spot where a University of North Carolina co-ed was stabbed to death Friday. And it's so similar. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. In center is Chapel Hill Detective Howard Pendergraft, and at right is Hayward Starling, Assistant Director of the State Bureau of Investigation. Let's see. Oops. Something's going on with the... Okay, there we go. Thanks, Susanna MacGillipadrick. What's that in there?
Happy Easter wishes from the crazy Cadogan family.
The crazy Cadogan? Who's that? So here's some kids. You can kind of see, make out that path there. You know, just kind of wondering, like, you look at something like... Let's see, hold on. Oh, man, jeez. Yeah, I mean, you can tell it's in the right spot. See this little... On the side of the path, these little bricks that are sort of built up there as a side. Look at right there. So, you know, we're in the right area here. University of North Carolina student stands at the area where a co-ed was slain Friday. Suellen Evans, 21, was stabbed in the heart near this path in the Botanical Garden on the university campus. Circles drawn on the path were made by investigating officers in their search. So these little circles here were made by investigators. The ones that you see on the path right there. And there's more spots like that. So it could be anywhere, really. I mean, I wonder if they put any sort of a memorial of any kind. Okay, so that's that one. And here's another investigator. Just a photo there. Yeah, now this one, man, they actually had, I wish I had the the writing below it, but you know, they had the actual path. I wonder if there's one that looked like that. Let's see. Well, there's a bush at the end. Okay, there's another spot right there. There's 3 different kind of a ton of 360-degree camera shots in here. Okay, this is the one we were looking at earlier. So this seems like it's in here, in this area. Sugar maple. Okay, and this is victim's home. This home of Suellen Evans, Mooresville, where she lived with her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Glenn M. Evans. When not in school, Miss Evans, a summer school student, was slain on campus of the University of North Carolina at Chapel yesterday, where she lived with her parents when not in school, though. Alright, here we go. So, UNC co-ed attack slain in Chapel Hill. All these first articles are on the first day. Jessica Schubach, thank you. Chewbacca.
Chewbacca? Oh, I'll be Chewbacca if you want me to. Trying to find the... Something's not open. That was open. No, not there. Not there. Ah, there we go. Thank you, Jessica Schubach. Just before she died, Miss Evans told 2 other co-eds who had heard her scream, had told 2 other co-eds who had heard her screams and ran to help her, that a man had tried to rape her. Just before she died, wow. Police said later, however, that a medical examination showed she had not been raped. Okay. She was killed in broad daylight about 12:30 p.m. The crime took place in a bed of periwinkle within a clump of myrtle trees and about a foot away from a graveled pathway near the eastern edge of the wooden and shady arboretum. So the eastern... Okay, let's just put a pin here and then go up in the air and see where that was. Well, that's... Yeah.
That's on the eastern side. So I think it is right around in here. She was killed in broad daylight around 12:30 p.m. The crime took place in a bed of periwinkle. Police were looking for a young black man seen running from the area where the killing took place. Apparently, a number of people heard the girl's screams. 2 unidentified co-eds were walking along separate paths in the Arboretum within 50 feet of where the assault took place. One of the co-eds said she looked through the trees and by the intersection, looked through the trees. Where was that? And saw a black arm around Miss Evans' neck. She called to the other co-ed, and both of them ran to help Miss Evans. So it sounds like there's a pretty good eyewitness there, but the assailant had fled when they got there. Miss Evans was getting to her feet when the other girls arrived. Wow, so she was actually trying to stand up. She had a stab to the heart and her neck was cut. What happened? One of them asked. He tried to rape me. The girl quoted Miss Evans as saying. The 2 girls then helped Miss Evans walk to the edge of the Arboretum about 10 feet from Raleigh Street. Alright, let's see where that is. Oh, that's kind of creepy. Yeah, Raleigh's. Yeah, right there, see? Okay, so what are they saying? She was only 10 feet? Arboretum, 10 feet, so it was right over here. It's like right in that area. Yeah, maybe somewhere right around in there. Yeah, so I think this one's close, but if you turn around, it must have been somewhere over there. Yeah. Yeah, that might be right around in this area. Wild. So what happened? One of them asked. He tried to rape me. The 2 girls then helped Miss Evans walk to the edge of the Arboretum, about 10 feet from Raleigh Street. Her last words were, I think I'm going to faint. Oh boy. Jeez. That's brutal. She was alive and going to faint. 2 nuns who were attending summer school heard Miss Evans' screams. Thanks, Loretta Reyes. Well, thank you.
The mapping is impressive. Time for some money to help the channel's mission.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. 2 nuns who are attending summer school heard Miss Evans' screams from their room in MacGyver dormitory. They told police the girl was crying, please help me, somebody help me. The nuns rushed from the dormitory and across the street to the Arboretum just as Miss Evans collapsed. One of the nuns tried to help her with artificial respiration. Let's see. One of the strongest clues Chapel Hill police have came from a workman in Davy Hall at the southwest corner of the Arboretum. Okay, so where's Davy Hall? Is that still there? Yeah, Davy Hall. Yeah, there it is. Wow, okay. So, this is where a witness That makes sense. Davy Hall, at the southwest corner of the Arboretum. The workman told Police Chief W.D. Blake he saw a young black man running towards the hall and then saw him veer to the north toward Episcopal Church and Franklin Street. So he went like this. He was running this way and he went boom up here. And there's the church, I bet. Or let's see, where's Franklin Street? Yeah, right there. So he was running this way and then he went running this way. Okay, so he's like, I guess you could say it was kind of over here and then he went running over like this and then up like that. Veer to the north towards the Episcopal Church in Franklin Street. The workman told officers the black man had a blue sports shirt with the shirt tail hanging out. The black man was spotted at a range of about 75 feet. The workman said he was slightly built. Police brought in a pack of bloodhounds. The dogs led them to Episcopal Church, but a search of the building produced nothing. We didn't do anything good with the dogs because so many people... So keep in mind, this is first 66 and then 73. It's exactly the same thing. And another, the UNC in Asheville. Exactly the same thing. Stabbed in the heart, cut in the throat. And died. Same thing. So this person, if it's the same one, would be 6 years older. We didn't do anything good with the dogs because so many people had walked along the path. Apparently the assailant's motive was not robbery. He found the victim's books in her purse and in the bed of periwinkle and ivy where the struggle took place. Miss Evans had attended a class that began at 10:30 a.m. and ended at 11:50. It was not known where she spent the next 40 to 50 minutes, nor why she was using that particular path through the Arboretum. It is, however, a fairly direct route from the business section of Chapel Hill to Cobb Dormitory where she lived. Miss Evans' purse and school books. Police have few material clues. They have a cast of footprints. Police have picked up and questioned several persons but had no firm suspect. Anyways, yeah, it's just brutal. Murder probe spreads. So this is on August 2nd. Few clues. Clothing and book. Her clothing and books have been sent to North Carolina Bureau of Investigation in Raleigh for processing for possible clues. Blake said fingernail scrapings also were taken from the girl. A black man was seen running from the murder area by a janitor at the university, Blake said. At Chapel Hill, and also two other girls, too. The two girls that saved her said they saw the same thing. Robertson, well, they didn't really save her, they tried to. Robertson, a retired real estate agent and former commander of the State American Legion, said Sunday the amount of the reward will depend on contributions. Okay. Alright, then we go to the third. New witness found in case. Authorities worked today with a more complete description of the young black man leaving the area where a University of North Carolina co-ed was stabbed to death. A UNC student told officers Monday he saw the man wearing a light blue button-down shirt with the shirt tail out, leaving the UNC Botanical Garden where Suellen Evans, 21, of Mooresville, was killed. Chapel Hill Police Chief W.D. Blake said the description given by the student matches that offered by a university janitor who saw the fleeing man. Blake, who refused to identify the new witness, said the student saw the man enter the Arboretum about noon and leave the garden about 1 p.m., 30 minutes after Miss Evans was stabbed in the heart and neck. Well, so he was just hanging out there? I don't know, that's hard to believe. The student's description of the black man, Blake said, is the most promising clue we have since the janitor's testimony. Why would he stay there for 30 minutes? He said the student had seen the man on the UNC campus before the murder, but could not identify him. Blake said this led him to believe the man was maybe from Chapel Hill. The police chief also said the murder weapon most likely was a knife of the switchblade variety, so, sort of similar to a pocket knife, small. Switchblades are usually kind of have that little small, some are bigger, some are smaller. I don't need the, well, Gray, I know a switchblade that had a... Okay. It has been, not been found. Blake confirmed reports the Federal Bureau of Investigation has offered its assistance, but said he had no concrete information the killer left North Carolina. Interrogation of a black man in Spartansburg, South Carolina during the weekend, Blake said, produced little information. Then we got another image here. So these are a bunch of students looking for, in an effort to find a switchblade knife. And I think switchblades have there's sharpness on both sides. So the stab wound, I don't know if you guys have ever studied stab wounds, but believe it or not, I have many times. And the Arias case got me interested in it, and then I've got this book. So when somebody's stabbed, it goes into the body, and then there's a sharp side on a single-sided blade, where the sharp side is, and the other side is more blunt. So you got this really pointed side, and then the other side is more flat. So I would think on a switchblade that has sharpness on both sides, it would be kind of almost like a diamond, like it goes like this. I don't know if you can see that, but like that, sharp on both sides. And that's probably how they know it's a switchblade. I don't know what that means. Karma. Everything isn't a joke, with your name and everything. So, let's see. In an effort to find a switchblade knife, which Chapel Hill police believe was used to kill UNC co-ed Suellen Evans last Friday in Coker Arboretum, officers asked students, volunteers to comb every inch of the 5-acre garden Thursday afternoon. The search continued for 2 hours without revealing any clue of apparent substance. Shown here are some of the 150 students, volunteers, as they begin shoulder-to-shoulder sweep of the Arboretum. Officers theorize that the killer, believed to be a young black man, may have thrown the weapon aside as he ran from the secluded spot. Search ends for Slayer anticipated. Search for murder weapon. Sorry, so this is again. They're just talking about the search for the murder weapon. All right, and then September 1965. About a month later. There were so many articles. I had to start kind of skipping to larger pieces later and stuff. So, co-ed murder puzzles cops. Where was she 30 minutes before her death? Suellen Evans was miffed with her hometown boyfriend and hadn't decided whether to let him know she was going home to Mooresville for the weekend. The 21-year-old co-ed never did make up her mind she was murdered. Second session summer school classes had been meeting 2 weeks, and Thursday night, July 29th, was a hectic one for Suellen. She was trying to get packed for the trip home and wash her hair, as well as study for a sociology quiz. The study and packing she got done, but she decided against washing her hair. She told a friend it would have to wait until classes were over the next day. She planned to rush back from class before her cousin Don Gabriel picked her up, and a hometown friend, Diane Wren, at 2 p.m. Friends said she probably planned to skip lunch. They said they had talked her into going on a diet because she was plump. So far, she had lost 5 pounds. Friday morning, Suellen got up and dressed in a blue striped shift with a large collar piped in red. She had made the dress herself, and with it she wore tiny silver earrings. The earrings were new, and for pierced ears for Suellen, her friend said having her ears pierced had been quite a big step, and she'd considered herself quite daring when she submitted to the expert needle of a girl in her hall. At 9 a.m., she reported to Alumni Building just north of the center of campus for a sociology quiz. Is that still there? Okay, well, I guess it's over here. I'm not sure which building it is, but it's over there, I guess. That's, what was that, 9 a.m.? She reported to Alumni Building just north of the center of campus. I don't know what when they say center of campus, do we even know what that means? Yeah. For a sociology quiz, she was a thorough student and had studied diligently. She stayed at the work the maximum amount of time, and at 10:30 placed her paper neatly atop the stack of the teacher's desk. Next was a course in education at Peabody Hall. Okay, so that's right there. (10:30) place her paper. Next was a course in education at Peabody Hall, a 5-minute walk away. Along the way, she passed by the old well and Y Court, both campus landmarks, and several classroom buildings, including one which was being renovated. When the class was out shortly before noon, alright, so we'll just say 11:55, something like that, a.m. And she said the Y Court. Is that? Hmm. 5-minute walk. It wouldn't take 5 minutes to get from here to here. So it must be somewhere else. Even though it does say Alumni Building right there. When she arrived back at the Alumni Building between 12:05 and 12:10 p.m., however, the professor, Dr. Edgar Butler, had left for lunch. So maybe this is the alumni building. UNC General Alumni Building. Let's go with that. Let's. Okay, and then she's back here again. But then why would she be up here again? You know, I don't know. We'll have to see how this works. However, the professor, Dr. Edgar Butler, had left for lunch. From then until 12:35 p.m., her movements are unknown. She may have tarried there a while, thinking Butler might be back soon, or she may have gone directly to Coker Arboretum to stroll around and enjoy the flowers, as many students do. The 5-acre arboretum is almost directly behind the alumni building. Okay, so that's not where that is. The alumni building must have been somewhere else. It can't be down here. Yeah, maybe it changes over time, you know. Like, so let's just sort of put this over here somewhere. You know, I don't know. Yeah, so it's something around here. Planetarium. What are these ones? Chapel of the Cross. Spencer Residence Hall. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the alumni hall was back then. In any case, at 12:35 p.m., she was in the arboretum. Suddenly, someone grabbed her from behind and dragged her into the mash of bushes and periwinkle beds. The periwinkle leaves were smashed as she struggled to get away. She was stabbed in the heart and cut on the neck, while less than 50 feet away, children were riding bicycles. A co-ed who answered the screams for help and saw a dark arm, darker than sunburn, around Suellen's legs. The co-ed helped Suellen to her feet as the assailant fled. "No, but I think I was going to faint. He tried to rape me," were Suellen's last words. She collapsed on the tree-shrouded walk. A passing nun tried to administer artificial respiration. 2 persons, a student and a black janitor, have reported seeing a man enter the garden and then run out at the time of the murder. Police say the man the student saw was found and had an alibi. Wow. Police say the man the student saw was found and had an alibi. He said he was visiting his wife, who works as a maid in a dormitory beside the arboretum. He says he was not in the garden itself, and Police Chief William D. Blake says he's no longer considered a suspect. Well, shit. Who the hell is it then? Any of 4 suspects still under surveillance could match the description given by the janitor. Other leads have met dead ends. A white man seen with blood on his shirt was found to have cut himself shaving. An AWOL soldier, a black reportedly stole a car in another part of the state 5 days after the murder. Police say they're questioning him also if he is ever found. A weapon is yet to be discovered. 100 student volunteers under police supervision search for one, didn't find one. Sally Barwick, her roommate, says Suellen did not know many people on campus. "I had tried to get her some dates, you know, but some of the boys, they didn't want to date that type. She was sweet and kind, but quiet. They wanted someone who was more of a hellraiser." And added Diane, she was not the kind to strike up a casual conversation with the boy she met on campus. She would be polite, but she would not have stopped to talk. Then, let's see. Then where police wonder was let's see, what does that mean? Then where, police wonder, was she in the 25 to 30 minutes before her death? All right, welcome. So there was, I guess they ended up finding a knife somewhere. A cheap butcher knife found last week in Bethesda, Maryland. Just may provide police. I mean, how is that going to be connected? The SBI is attempting to determine if the knife was the murder weapon. That's just, I don't even want to, that's crazy. Mystery knife eliminated. Well, there you go. I mean, there's knives found all over the place, okay? So, anyways, they eliminated it. So let's check this one out. This is from 1985. So we're, this is 20 years later, and this is the original detective, and we'll just go through these two articles here and see what they say. I mean, it's a 2-pager, so. All right, but let's see if we can get on the last chance ditch for tonight. If we can get the, we're not going to be able to give out a mug or anything tonight. It doesn't look like, but be nice to, get sort of at least to a half or like 2/3 of a regular night. Let's see, what do we got? All right, and then we've got a no place like home, and yes, happy Easter. Put that in there. Okay. But all the names will be carried over for a different night. All right, here we go. Howard Pendergraft, a retired police detective, stands along the edge of a gravel path beside a periwinkle patch. That, where he's standing, I wonder if we could determine that. So, just a second. It's really, I think it's right in this area. God, is it right there? Oh, that's got to be it. Look at that, right there. Right? And that's exactly in the spot. Look at the way that looks. And it turns to the right. You see that? So just look at that and look at that. I think he's standing right over there and the cameraman's right there. Yeah, it's somewhere right around in there anyways. I think he's just near it. Oh, thank you. Cindy Shaw, thank you very much. Got it in there. Alright. It's lunchtime, and the University of North Carolina campus is crowded with returning students. Young women pass by Pendergraft and hardly notice him. They don't pay no mind, he says, and if they only knew tone. They don't pay any mind, if they only knew. It was about the same hour on a Friday afternoon 20 years ago, July 30th, 1965, that Pendergraft was summoned to the Arboretum to investigate a crime that would stun the state and confront the detectives with a frustrating challenge. That day, Suellen Evans, a 21-year-old UNC Greensboro student taking summer courses in Chapel Hill, left a restaurant off Franklin Street and walked with an armful of books, so they know where she went, towards Cobb Dormitory, about a half mile from downtown. So where is Cobb Dormitory then? No. I don't think it's going to be there. Probably changed the name. I don't know. The library. That's a residence there. How about, maybe it's called Cobb Resident. Oh, it is there. Jeez. Now it's called Cobb Residential Hall, so it's right there. It's not a dormitory. So this is where she lived. Cobb dorm. So yes, that makes sense. If she was over here on the way home, she would have gone through the Arboretum. So this is probably where the alumni buildings were back then. She intended to gather her belongings and later take a bus home to Mooresville because the summer session was over. I thought she was going to get a ride with friends. As did many students then and now, she took a shortcut through the Arboretum, a beautiful collection of trees, flowers, and plants covering several acres behind Moorhead Planetarium. In 1965, the garden was more secluded, with winding paths hidden by dense foliage and undergrowth. At about 12:30 p.m., two female students walking along nearby paths heard a woman screaming for help. One of the students looked from a distance and saw an arm around Evans' neck. The two students rushed to help. They found Evans getting up from the ground. "He tried to rape me," Evans said. She must have been in absolute shock because she'd already been stabbed and her throat cut at that time. The two students rushed to help. They found Evans getting up. "He tried to rape me." The woman assisted her towards the east entrance to the Arboretum. At a point where the trails crisscross, Evans said, "I think I'm going to faint." She collapsed and died a few minutes later. She had been stabbed through the heart. While the students were attempting to help Evans, groundkeepers near the western edge of the Arboretum. So this is all stuff that's real, really part of the investigation that's still 20 years later with that same investigator. They saw a young man in a blue shirt, so now they're not referring to his race, though. In a blue shirt and brown pants running out of the garden. He vanished near the planetarium. The crime happened in broad daylight, and they've mentioned the planetarium a few times. I remember seeing it. I think it's right over here somewhere. Where was that? It was like right here, maybe? Oh, there it is. Yeah, it had the little blue stuff on the building. Yeah, so this is exactly right. He ran in that direction. And see, we've already got that. So he ran like this, and he was heading up this direction. Oh, there it is. In 1965, the garden was more secluded. At about 12:30 p.m., two female students. One of the students looked from a distance. The woman assisted her towards the east entrance of the Arboretum. She collapsed and died a few minutes later. While the students were attempting to help Evans, groundkeeper near the western edge of the Arboretum saw a young man in a blue shirt and brown pants running out of the garden. He vanished near the planetarium. The crime happened in broad daylight on a busy campus in a peaceful place. The victim was a likable young woman with no enemies, the daughter of a postal worker. Her death stirred fear on campus and widespread statewide sympathy for her family. Rewards were posted. Student volunteers assisted police in combing the arboretum looking for the murder weapon. They interrogated more than 100 suspects and traced several hundred dead ends. We just never got a break, says retired SBI agent Frank Satterfield. Now living in Wrightville Beach, the Arboretum murder remains one of North Carolina's most intriguing unsolved crimes. As far as we are concerned, the case is open, says Police Chief Herman Stone of Chapel Hill, who was directing traffic in the college town the day Evans was murdered. Fisher, 36, was convicted last week of kidnapping and attempted rape and murder. Okay, so they're saying the case is open. Who is directing? Let's see. We had an inquiry just recently, the Evans family asked. Fisher, 36, was convicted last week of kidnapping and attempted rape and murder of an 8-year-old Chinese orphan who was being adopted by a Chapel Hill couple. Her body was found hanging from a tree near the University Finley golf course. Jesus. That's ridiculous. What case is that? Was that ever solved? Oh, he's convicted. Okay. Fisher would have been 16 in 1965. He is a small, thin white man based on the fleeting glimpses by witnesses and a hair sample found at on the victim. Police were sure Evans' killer was a black man in his early 20s and about 5 feet 10 inches. Right. After the crime, bloodhounds were brought into the Arboretum. The dogs sniffed the trail to the west side of the Arboretum, then went north towards the planetarium parking lot, then east behind Episcopal Church. That would... wonder where the church is. Okay, there we go. Right there. So we kind of went up. And kind of back here like that. And Spencer Dormitory. So it'd be Spencer Hall, right? Oh, there it was. Yeah, so there you go. It's right there. Let's see. On the second floor, that's where the dogs went. And then the scent was lost. On the second floor of Spencer, a resident walking down a hall encountered a man who appeared to be dressed in work clothes. When she approached, he dropped his head and appeared to be looking at the baseboard, Pendergrass says. She figured he was a maintenance man and paid no more attention to him. Pendergrass is sure the man was the killer. Wow. As the investigation dragged on without success, Chapel Hill detectives kept a photo board in their office showing the Arboretum from many angles. The board stayed in place for many years, a reminder of unfinished work. If you were sitting in the office with nothing to do, that board would stare at you, Pendergraft says. Returning 20 years later to the scene of the crime, Pendergraft wanders along a meandering path until he comes to a periwinkle bed beneath a grove of crepe myrtle trees. He stood right here, waiting for someone to come along, Pendergraft says, pointing to a spot beside the path. We found the periwinkle beat down. After a murder, a student reported that day often saw a man hanging out in the Arboretum. He would sneak looks at couples using the garden as a lover's retreat or stare at women reading on garden benches. That man was picked up. Hope soared when it was established he had been in or near the Arboretum the day of the murder. The man denied he was the killer. 3 different polygraph operators examined him, determined he was not a fit subject for a polygraph test. Witnesses could not identify the man. The man, who had no history of violent crimes, was let go. He was our best suspect, Pendergraft says. As far as I know, he's still in Chapel Hill. Another promising lead revolved around a laborer who abruptly left a campus construction site just prior to the killing. After a search that lasted 5 years, the man was found when arrested on a parole violation in New England. But after questioning, he was cleared as a suspect. In 1973, Chapel Hill detectives went to Asheville. Isn't that interesting? So, in 1973, Chapel Hill detectives went to Asheville after a UNC Asheville student was stabbed to death in broad daylight during a rape attempt in the Biltmore Gardens. The crime was unrelated, they say. Who knows, right? Because they still talked about it in 73. One of the last journeys was several years ago to El Paso, Texas, the site of yet another campus murder, like the one in Chapel Hill. The trip turned up nothing. Chief Stone thinks the killer may have been from the Chapel Hill area. He could have been a student, says Satterfield, raising a possibility that was hardly ever mentioned back in the 1960s. Maybe somebody will sit down one day and have too many beers and start talking, he says. If that happens, some other cop will make the call or Pendergraft. Days of investigating are over. He retired June 30th after more than 30 years with the Chapel Hill Police. Every time you drive by this place, you say, "Hell, I wish that I could have cleared that case," he says. I would have loved to do that before he retired. Suellen Evans' father died some years ago. Her mother, Adrienne Evans, still lives in Mooresville. Her son, Suellen Evans' older brother, says the family does not like to discuss the case publicly. I don't think the investigation was handled properly at the time to have something happen on a major North Carolina campus. And he says, not finishing the sentence, after 20 years, he says, it is something that still hurts us. And then there was this, rickjacksonauthor.com. This is 2020 here. So I guess this will be the last piece here. And then we can call it a night. So, again, if you'd like to help out, feel free to do so. Kind of a two-parter today, but it was, it's been a long day, man. I'm tired. Jesus. So tired. The Serena Southern College campus in Chapel Hill was green and growing on the last day of June in 1965. A picture-perfect summer day under a Carolina blue sky. This was written by Rick Jackson, The Murder of Suellen Evans. A picture-perfect summer day under a Carolina blue sky welcomed the few students that were attending the university for summer classes. Buses and cars still buzzed up and down the streets of the small town, but there was an emptiness in the air without the thousands of students that would flood the campus in the fall. Then there would be a constant buzz of activity. Suellen Evans, 21-year-old student from Mooresville, North Carolina, walked briskly towards the entrance of the Coker Arboretum. She was in a big hurry. Her time in Chapel Hill was limited since she was only going to be there for the summer. A home economics major who had just completed her sophomore year at Catawba College in Salisbury. She was there trying to make up some credits towards the next step in her academic career. She shielded her eyes as she looked both ways down East Cameron Street before crossing over as she reached the, let's see where Cameron Street is. Probably, I think it's the one over here. Right there, I was thinking, but maybe not. There's East Cameron right there. Okay. So they're saying she shielded her eyes as she looked both ways east before crossing over as she reached the other side, and the shade of the oaks surrounding the iconic old well, her vision cleared as she saw a friend from one of her classes. I wonder where that is. The old well. And saw a friend from one of her classes. They chatted for a moment there, but Suellen could not tarry. She had a bus to catch in just a few hours that would take her back to Mooresville for the weekend. She was not antisocial and regretted not always staying with other girls in her dorm over the weekend, but at heart she knew that there was no place like home, even for a young lady like herself who sought more than just the standard experience of girls at the time of getting married and having kids. She still loved to get back home as often as possible. She ended the conversation with her friend by letting her know that she was in a rush. She had to stop by the alumni hall to ask one of the professors a question before the weekend and had to get back to her dorm and pack. She crossed McCorkle Place. Okay, let's see where that is. Okay. So that puts maybe the alumni buildings are more over here. That kind of makes sense too. Carefully dodging the squirrels who darted about and fed on the... We don't know if any of that's true. She could see the bustle of Franklin Street through the trees as she passed the old East Building and bounded up the steps of Alumni Hall. So is that still there? Old East Building? Now it's over here. Old East. How'd that happen? So McCarkle. Oh, maybe on the way back down? Shit, I don't know. Now there's a whole bunch. There's already one called the Alumni Hall. I think they just kind of changed it around over the years. She crossed McCorkle Place, carefully dodging the squirrels who darted about, and fed on the acorns as if the people were not even there. She could see the bustle of Franklin Street through the trees as she passed the old East Building and bounded up the steps of the Alumni Hall. The meeting was quick with her professor, As she exited the other side of the building, she felt content that she was doing well and that making the journey home was not going to put her behind in her studies at all. She looked down at her watch. It was 12:30. Stared back at her. She needed to make sure she packed and made it to the bus station on time. She was staying in Cobb dorm, so the fastest way back was to take a shortcut through the Coker Arboretum to Raleigh Street. She headed towards the entrance of the Arboretum, looking forward to seeing the pretty foliage that grew there and watching the birds flitter. We don't know what she was thinking. She really had never been anywhere as lovely as Chapel Hill. Suellen, and that says, stopped as she was grabbed. Her swift gait and determined pace moving through the overgrown arboretum was suddenly stopped as she was grabbed by an assailant that sprung from the bushes and dragged her back into the greenery. Suellen fought as hard as she could against her attacker, and her screams were heard by a passerby. A female student heard the screams, as did a pair of passing nuns on Raleigh Street. They could tell the sound was coming from the Arboretum and bravely ran towards the screams. Suellen was winning her fight for freedom against the predator and almost broke free from him. Sensing he was losing his prey, he slashed out with a knife and slashed her neck and stabbed her in the heart. As she made her final move towards freedom, the co-ed that was coming for her aid saw her stumble from the bushes into the path and then collapse on a bed of periwinkles after saying, "He tried to rape me. I feel like I'm going to pass out." Her blue and white striped homemade shirt was torn and stained with blood. As Suellen fell, the student was sure she saw a dark arm. I mean, a lot of this is just kind of conjecture and based on a story, you know. The nuns were right behind her and leapt towards the fallen Suellen as she fell by the path. As the female student peered through the green leaves and flowers of the Arboretum, one of the nuns knelt down beside Suellen and cradled her head. Suellen looked up at the nun and said, He tried to rape me. I think I'm going to faint." With that, she lost consciousness and never opened her eyes to the blue sky again. An ambulance from NC Memorial Hospital arrived in a few moments, but it was too late. She was not going to make it back to Mooresville. She was not going to be able to see her parents again or ever attend the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. The police descended on the Arboretum and immediately sealed off the area. They had a few immediate leads, one being a black man working as a janitor that was walking out of Phillips Hall. As the police arrived in the Arboretum, he was immediately detained, but after a few questions, soon released. Another passerby, I thought it was the janitor, was a witness. I don't know, I'm sure that's accurate, what they just wrote right there. Remember, there was a black man that was a janitor that was a witness to the killer running away. Let's see. The witness said he had stains on his shirt. Okay. The student body at Carolina banded together and raised $1,285 as a reward. Over 200 men came to Chapel Hill to help search the area for any weapons or clues. And yeah, nothing was found. Anyways, it's still unsolved right now. Crazy, 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 crazy. Wow, wow. Anyways, so that's going to do it, you guys. I don't have any more to offer tonight, and at least we did do a part 2, and made up some of the difference that we didn't have on the earlier show. So thank you guys. I only made it to about 50% of a normal night, but hey, it's better than 25. All right, so thank you to Swerves, Eugenie, Kit Kat, Zozo, Rochelle Black, D&K Reck, Shelly Pink, Tawny Lee, Susanna Mac Gillipadrick, Jessica Schubach, Loretta Reyes. And then we had on PayPal,
We have Beholder, Cindy Shaw, No Place Like Home, LM, Christine Babcock, Brown Eyed Girl 714, and Plato. Awesome. So yeah, we're not going to be able to do a drawing, but you guys are all stored in there. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. And everybody have a great Easter tomorrow, and everybody celebrates Passover. Hope you have a good Passover. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there. And a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 5, and a 6.
Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector, flag rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Grego's gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temple fucking checked ya. I have no agenda, I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. Alright, everybody? Talk to you later.
It's the house! Huh?